American victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. Today, and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show, episode 399. And because I'm coming to you from an undisclosed location like my brother Damon was last week, I figured I'd show y'all my background of what I'm working with real quick. I'm about to switch it over, but I just wanted y'all to see. I'm getting in the pool after this. So anyway, that's what's up. I'm switching over right now to better so you can see me better. Okay, there we go. But I just had to show y'all my background, what I was working with from my undisclosed location. It's about to go down. We got, of course, my brother Damon K. Jones, and we got the one and only Robert Baskerville, a.k.a. Dr. Bob, a.k.a. Brooklyn Bob, a.k.a. Biff Baskerville, and the name, and it goes on and on and on. The man with the plan, is in the place to be. MSNBC has, what's that dude's name? Steve Kornacki. He gives you the big board and breaks down the numbers. We got Dr. Bob.
We got word Dr. Bob.
Word up. Your mic is off, Bob. It sounds like you're muted.
Hold on.
Yeah, he muted himself. He got to unmute himself.
Oh, yeah. I was saying I feel under a lot of pressure, I'll be honest.
No, I'm just saying you are version though. You know what I mean?
No. That's my way of trying to maybe offer my
that's my man being humble. That's my man being humble. He is the number dude. He crunches numbers and data like nobody else. A lot of times when y'all see, I wrote a story in the paper on the website and they got all kinds of data and sometimes charts and graphs. That's this brother here. You know what I'm saying? He provided all of that for the story. So just wanted to give him a shout out. Shout to everybody who's tuned in, and happy July 4th. Oh, and I just want to say this before we get started. The three of us are coming to you live from our black jobs. Y'all know what I'm talking about, that whole black jobs.
Yeah, black jobs was definitely on my mind today.
Yeah. This is black jobs. Ain't no immigrants take it. Ain't no immigrants coming to take these black jobs. So we just wanted to say you got three black men that got black jobs. This is what black jobs look like. All right. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. I definitely wanted to talk about that today because I think that's very important because we look at Trump and we have to remember Trump's age. And we have to remember the circles that Trump runs around with.
Right.
And it's important that we really recognize that Black people only own 2.7% of businesses in America. 2.7% of businesses in America. And the fact that what happened here?
What happened?
Did Bob go away?
Nah, he's still in the background.
Yeah, I'm here.
Then where did you go?
I don't know. You took him out. What you
took me out? Yo, D, what up?
Trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, okay, now you're the solo. There's the solo Bob.
Yo, what happened?
Okay.
All right,
There's the
there
big
we go.
Bob.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, what happened? Who's touching?
No, that's me. That's actually me.
All
Seeing
right.
what the different things. That's what I was looking for. That's what we
No,
had.
no, but it should
you
have
don't
been
want
the
that
way
one?
I had it in the first place, because now the
This is
banner.
how you had it in the beginning.
No, Bob was above the banner. So let's just make it like this.
Okay, well, Bob get the big square.
Yeah, Bob get the big square today.
Oh man, don't do that.
Big square to Bob Baskerville.
Well, we have our sister coming on later,
Okay.
so it'll be okay. But what I wanted to say about the black jobs is the fact that because we don't have no businesses, white people can give us black jobs. 2.7% of all businesses that black people own. So we're not creating jobs for ourselves. So it's up to white people to create black jobs. See, and when you look through things as through a racist lens, as Trump has looked to it, he's going to give you something that we don't think about. We think we have a job, but it's a designated black job. That's why, I mean, Bob, you could correct me. We have those laws to try to force other businesses to have a percentage of minorities on their businesses.
I'll be right back. Keep talking.
So when we're dealing with conversations like that, you know, that's black jobs. Like I don't understand how we don't see that as black people when we don't have black businesses. Every other ethnic group employs their own, but black people, we go to white people to look for jobs. Like we don't even have a black toilet paper company. If the white man disappeared tomorrow and all his businesses go, what will black people do? We don't even have black hotels. We don't have we don't have a black airline company. We won't even be driving cars. If the white man disappears and takes all this stuff that he created that we rely on as black people, we are not independent. We are dependent. So we can't get upset when the racists say black jobs, because the system makes them those companies makes them and those companies create black jobs, because we have failed as black people to create our own businesses and our own institutions. So we shouldn't be upset. We should analyze that and say, man, listen, we have to start building our own institutions and having our own businesses so we can employ our own people.
Damon, I would agree. I'm going to extend beyond just the need for the creation of black jobs.
Right.
The reality is that in the United States and probably many other advanced industrial capitalist societies, you have the emergence of what's ordinarily referred to as dual labor markets. Some aspects of the labor market that are characterized by high investment of capital for the production of goods and services that are going to yield maximum value, and also a good source of living, security, high wages for the employees. And then on the other hand, you have what we might call it, it's often called, I think we'll call it tertiary, sort of inferior section of the labor market and economy that's characterized by much lower levels of capital investment and much more insecure employment tenureship for employees. The difference would be between General Motors and, let us say, the gas stations, the jobs at the gas stations that pump cars. I mean, those are radically different type of jobs. And what's important for us to note is that historically here in the United States, the way that we have policymakers and politicians that generally sought to combat it is by regulating those markets and trying to implement rules that are going to ensure that people have decent jobs. And this is a central issue of contention historically and in this election. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court's decision, I think yesterday, that I think called into question the Chevron doctrine, the ability of the federal government, regulatory agencies to make rules that are going to regulate labor market conditions, amongst other things, is one of the real stakes in this upcoming election. And historically, it has been one of the main areas of struggle around which Black activists, organizers have sought to intervene to try to improve conditions for Black people. So surely we want to provide conditions that allow for the creation of Black jobs. But in addition, for those jobs that are generally open to, we want to create conditions for the, I feel like Joe Biden right now, y'all, for Black businesses, but we also want to.
I don't know what he said. I don't know what he said. And I don't think he knows either.
I gotta tell y'all, I'm a little frazzled, so y'all are gonna forgive me today. But it's definitely good to be with y'all for sure.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you, Bob. Man, it's good to have these type of conversations, because I think we don't, as Black people, we don't have these conversations, right? We don't, like, because we get crazy offended when other people have the conversations, but we don't have these type of conversations, which we should have these type of conversations when we're dealing with our political power, and what are we leaving for our generations, other than a life insurance policy and maybe a 401k and maybe a piece of property that we struggled to keep while we were working, and the bigger picture is we have to, as Black people, especially Black people here in Westchester, we have to build political power. And I also believe that this election, even though, there's a lot of, and we all talked about it, and I even had conversations with, Jamal's chief of staff. There was a lot of missteps throughout the campaign, and even the outreach Jamal will have to do for his whole district. So, and this is a pushback, and you can't go through fighting like that every 2 years. You have to recognize your entire district. Now, the whole incident with AIPAC is a whole nother story, right? We know their agenda, their national agenda, and their foreign policy agenda is sending our tax dollars over to Israel and supporting what the international court has called genocide. And we should not have our tax dollars to go over there. It's simple. It has nothing to do with the Jewish religion. All religions come from Abraham. We're all brothers and sisters, but we're dealing with a foreign government. Let's make that clear. This is not about the Jewish religion we're talking about. We're talking about dealing with a foreign government and supplying money and arms to a war that the international court has labeled genocide. And they're also looking to put warrants out for Hamas and Netanyahu and members of his war cabinet. And we cannot dismiss that. I don't care, what people say, and I really don't care who won. But as far as history, we cannot dismiss that if we have any ounce of humanity in our soul. Some people would like to just say, well, this is politics. No, this is not just politics. These are people's lives. This is apartheid. This is oppression that we are supporting. And then there's an entity that is actually pushing to continue this, and then to push the silent silence dissent, by those elected officials that get hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars to pass laws to silent dissent, and that's not American democracy, and we should not stand for that. We should push back on any elected official. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican, who supports that, who takes money from that. This is bigger than Jamal Bowman. This is about American democracy and the small person's tax dollars. You know what? If they had 20 million to drop in a congressional race, they should have just sent that over to Israel. And if you look at the people that donate, they donate 100 million, 200 million. This one lady that they reported, said she's a pro-Israel supporter. She's going to give Trump $100 million for his campaign. Why don't you just send that over to Israel? But they rather buy our politicians and send our tax dollars. And this is what I don't understand, what people are not seeing, and the fact that the first time in history is me being 56 years old this month. The first time in history when we had an opportunity to re-elect the first Black congressman and elect the first Black district attorney. And it took me 56 years to see something like that and experience something like that. And I think we all failed. We failed because we was divided. We failed because we was hating each other. We failed because the gatekeepers and the Black leaders didn't do their job to galvanize the vote, and Black churches didn't come out. We failed. So moving forward, we can't complain about crime and violence in our community. We can't complain about the youth not having money for mentoring programs and after school programs and all these different programs. We can't complain about police brutality and why cops are not going to jail when they shoot an unarmed Black man or when they beat an unarmed Black man. Black people can't complain, and preachers should not be in the street marching. When you failed to put somebody that comes from the civil rights movement, comes from underneath lawyers that are very credible in dealing with civil rights and human rights, and we don't support a brother that's in Congress that's brought money to the district, that brought money to organizations that usually do not get funding, that straight up said, yes, I am pushing money into marginalized communities so we can have some type of equity and equality. And Black preachers stood silent. Black leadership in Westchester County stood silent. I have a problem with that. What do we tell our children? What do you tell your children? See, so I mean, this is insane. This is really insane. And for all our doctor degrees and sororities and fraternities and Masons and all that, you trying to tell me we could not galvanize the vote for Black people to come out and put someone that looked like us? Do we have that much self-hate within ourselves? See, other ethnic groups, where they have a problem, they'll deal with it behind closed doors. But they understand the bigger picture. This is why we have nothing. And now this election showed that they don't need the Black vote to win anything. To win anything. So I think it's very important that we need to analyze this. and we need to look at this as Black people. It's bad enough you could pull the average Black person and say, well, what is the Black agenda? And then they say, well, I don't see color. Come on, really? Policies, that's why we have to look at policies with a lens of equity, because the policies that are created in levels of government, it doesn't include us. That's why we have organizations to look at policies, because usually it doesn't include us. Nah, I'm done, man.
Absolutely. I wanted to say something after Bob spoke. So there was a great article in The Nation. I'm doing a follow-up, basically what the left can learn from the defeat of Jamal Bowman. And one key sentence, Bob was always talking about the lack of advertising. We can criticize AIPAC all we want, but we must also focus on building our own powerful strategic infrastructure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that was just like key for everything we're talking about. It's a great article. I'm going to put the link in the comment section. It's a great article. I'm following up because there was a coalition, Westchester progressives, some Jewish people, some Palestinians, some anti-racist groups that were all together and united in the re-election of Congressman Bowman. And Damon and I and Bob and I have had this conversation, and I talked to many of the groups. What I don't want to see is for everybody, what normally happens, everybody then goes back to their neutral corner. We had a power structure that we need to build on, a grassroots grassroots that needs to be built on, and we need to be building on it all year long. It's bigger than just this one election. You know what I'm saying? It showed that we can all, from various different Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, like all from different groups, we all work together here in Westchester to accomplish a goal. And if we actually nurture that and build that, instead of everybody going back to their neutral corners, we can be prepared for the next thing. And Damon went a step further. We need to get together, and after nurturing that grassroots, we need to start our own PAC. And even if everybody puts in $1 or $5 or $10 a month and start building up our own PAC where we can support. The problem with Black people, we support our candidates with our words and not our wallets. And other groups can just come in and buy our politicians because they need money to win. You know what I'm saying? And those who put up the most money, when you get elected, people don't put up money like that, those kind of numbers, and they don't want something in return. They put up money like that. When the phone rings, you better answer. And there's going to be this is what I need you to do. And if you don't do it, there's going to be a reckoning. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, so we have all these other people buying our politicians, and then they do their bidding because we have no political strategic infrastructure, and we have no Black PACs. And I think that's something we need to explore, and we also need to talk about, because Bob has said probably forever, but at least the last 10 years we've been doing People Before Politics and Black Westchester. Most of our things fail because of a lack of organizing.
Yeah. And I want to add something here, AJ, and I think that it's important for us to be courageous enough to engage in self-criticism. And to illustrate what that is like, I'd like to begin with myself, because like you and Damon and so many other brothers and sisters in our circle, I was well aware of the stakes in this upcoming primary election, as well as the need to organize and mobilize well in advance. And to be honest, probably like a lot of people, I got caught a bit flat-footed and only really started, the kind of, the data and stuff that I like to do in preparation for a campaign. And one of the things that occurred to me is, hey, we need to do some voter mobilization. And this was sometime in January. And I began to look around for grant opportunities to support voter mobilization efforts. And you want me to tell you what, like so many other things, that good ideas that I personally, have personally occurred to me and many others, it was $1 late, you know, and I'm saying a day late and $1 short. There we go. Y'all gonna call me Joseph. You know, a day late and $1 short. And interestingly, what I had realized is only if we had started maybe in November, that was the cutoff, November 2023, to apply for some of these get out the vote funds, we would have been in a much better position. And you want me to tell you what I also discovered? That the Jewish Get Out the Vote organization that had been launched primarily to galvanize those Jews in our district who were not unhappy with Jamal's stance on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, if you will. You know, they had the foresight to apply in a timely manner. And I think this is just a reminder of what you said, AJ, that we need to start now. There is another election that's going to be happening in a mere 2 years, and we can't begin to organize too soon. I was also impressed because I saw a couple of media segments that highlighted some of the work that this particular organization was doing. I forgot the name of it. I tried to pull up an article. And one of the things that struck me from the video footage is it was a video footage of the actual office space that they had rented. And it was apparent that they had a sophisticated operation, plenty of computers, you know, all kind of paper to track critical data posted on the wall for everyone to see, just like you would expect in a full-scale campaign operation. And to be honest, if we're going to be able to compete and field candidates that will support positions that are consistent with our values, then we're going to need to be able to provide them with the voters that give them coverage and ensure that they're going to be able to return to office after a hard-fought election of the kind that we just had. And you know, this is my own confession that, listen, I didn't do enough, and I think such admissions are the, you know, the beginning point for starting a renewed effort to address some of the weaknesses of our coalition. It's not just about campaigns. Campaigns are important, but we have a responsibility as independent civic organizations and the opportunity to do mobilization efforts independent of what the particular campaigns are doing. And so I hope that in the months ahead that we seize
people have to be willing, Bob.
Right.
They have to be willing to do it. Right. And what we are lacking is also education, you know, and why is it important? You know, I'm really tired of seeing Black people complain.
Right.
Just complain.
That's it.
Oh, this and that, crime and violence. Oh, the police. Oh, this. I've just heard Black people complain. And when you have an opportunity to change it, you don't do it. You don't do it. You know, I mean, to the point that, you know, people call me, I'm just going to start saying, well, one question, if you want me to help you, did you vote? And if you didn't vote, then why should I take time out of my life and help you? Because you didn't vote. And then because you didn't be a part of the political process, you're a victim of your own misfortune. So, like, people have to want to be a part of it. We play our role. This is our role, giving you the information so you can make educated decisions. And I still get calls on people asking me, who should I vote for? And I'm like, you have to do your research. You have to do your research. You have to compare the candidates, but then you can't complain if you don't take part. You don't take part in it. And I really think, man, like we have to come together, because we're going to leave nothing to our children as far as democracy. And I'm talking to the Black leadership. I'm talking to the organizations that got Black in their name. All these organizations got Black in their name. And then you split on who you going to choose. And you got to take that Black off. You got to take the Black off. See, I was raised by Black Panthers and Black law enforcement that came out of the Black Power era. And you can't have Black in your name if you ain't Black and you ain't pro-Black.
I'm in full agreement.
But we'd rather be. See, the problem is, and this is real talk, right? We're scared to be pro-Black. Black people in Westchester is scared to be pro-Black. Black is a convenience. It's not a power. See, we have to make Black a power, not a convenience. And then you have to, and then Jamal choose the wrong people around him. Because some of the people wasn't around in the long run.
Yeah, I will chime in on that point, Damon, that I think, unfortunately, in the past, since I've been involved intensely in Westchester County politics, both at the mayoral level and also other higher offices, I've noticed a pattern that is continuously repeated. And that is that in the current era where progressives are trying to vie against mainstream Democrats for open offices, there's a strong tendency to rely very heavily on technology and also to bring in outside experts, if you will, to helm campaigns. Now, I'll be honest, this is a source of immense controversy. It happened with Andre Andre's first mayoral campaign when he brought in Dominique. I don't remember Dominique's last name.
Horrible.
Disaster. It caused so many problems. It's not to call into question the ability of either Dominique or any of the other campaign managers from outside of the county, outside the district, who have been called in to helm campaigns. But despite all of their technological savvy, one of the things that they're lacking is the social capital that's required, the connections that are required to mobilize, leverage the kind of collective knowledge and enthusiasm that we have. And, and in addition to that, it only exacerbates a lot of the underlying racial tensions that are a regular feature of American life, because many people feel that essentially what goes on in these campaigns is you have Black jobs within the campaign. It's terrible. It's terrible. We've heard this repeatedly. It has caused immense source of resentment, because a lot of people who support our local progressive candidates are considered a labor of love, and they are likely to invest a considerable amount of time and energy without necessarily looking for professional level compensation. But too often, when they find themselves up at night, and y'all already know, I'm gonna let everyone know how I get down. Y'all better know. I'm not talking, forget Damon and AJ right now. I'm talking about me. I go so hard. They'll tell you. I work 24 hours a day. In Andre's last campaign, I stayed up 48 hours straight and did, for better or for worse. That was true. Me and AJ did it with Rich. I mean, that's what you get from your local supporters who do not treat this merely as a job for which they receive compensation, but rather treat it as a part of their lifelong commitment to the Black freedom struggle. And it's a mistake because it causes a lot of resentment. I heard it several election cycles in the past, and I also heard people say the same thing in the days leading up to the election. It was an embarrassment. I'm going to be honest with you. It was an embarrassment to go into the campaign headquarters. I was not the only person in the city of Mount Vernon to notice that there were far too many faces that were unfamiliar to anyone who's been involved in Mount Vernon politics. Who are these folks? And it's not to take anything away from people. We want the enthusiasm and support of volunteers, but local voters have to be able to see a face that they recognize, a smile that resonates with them, that's going to give them the good word. It's good to see you again, brother and sister, so we could get out here in the field of struggle. Maybe this time we'll do it. But that was not the kind of reception that people could look forward to when they went to the campaign. And on that note, I do know we have a guest, and I'm going to be quiet for a moment.
You finished vetting, Bob?
I did. I'm sorry.
So we want to welcome our sister Jennifer Cabrera. Wait, Working Families Party? I remind me. Yes,
from the Working
Families. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that we're gonna have brother. He's away. He's gonna be back after I think the 13th. He's gonna come on the show too. Yeah. He's gonna come on the show because we want to get his analysis of what happened. But I mean, I met you we were together at the rally in front of the county building, and one thing I've known George for a long time. He came in I started corrections in 1990. He became the county legislator in 1991. And for 13 years, I knew him as a county legislator. And then he went to the state, and then we still kept our relationship as far as dealing with George now and then through first National Black Police Association, and then Blacks in Law Enforcement of America, and then Black Westchester Magazine, and on a couple of his committees for police reform. But one thing that I was taking back from this campaign, which will never change my mind, is the Islamophobic rhetoric and the racial rhetoric, that came out of this campaign, which it changed my view of him, and you could say it's politics and this is the way we want to win. But, for people who believe in equality and everybody should be treated fairly, no matter what's going on in another country, the Arabs and Muslims that work hard and obey the laws, and your firefighters or your correction officers or your police officers, and some that work for the county should not be hearing these type of things, and their children shouldn't either. So from the working families perspective, and I welcome you on. You could give your view of how this election went, and also where do we go from here?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on. For people who don't know me, I'm Jennifer Cabrera. I'm the vice chair of the Westchester Putnam Working Families Party. This election was a lot of things. There were missteps on the campaign side. But I think at the end of the day, those missteps are not what lost this campaign. $20 million, more than $20 million of outside money is not something that you can out-organize.
Exactly.
And so we can talk through all the things that went wrong. But I think if all of those things had done right, if we could not raise a comparable amount of money, which obviously we couldn't because we didn't, it was always going to be a long shot. So what we've got to be able to focus on is figuring out what went wrong and correcting those things next time, but also making sure that we understand that when we are electing politicians, that we are looking for people who are against putting big money into politics. And that's hard. That is not easy to do, because once they get a taste of power, they also start getting those offers of big money. They also are being tempted with more power if they'll just vote a certain way. And we've seen that George Latimer has done this, for much smaller amounts of money in the county. You all have reported on it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is that money. But let's also look at, what you all were saying earlier is completely right. There were a lot of people from outside the county who were involved in the campaign and didn't have those relationships. And then the people who were involved in the campaign and were from the county, a lot of times were being ignored or spoken over, and their views weren't being taken into account, where they had good ideas that made sense for people in Westchester, but maybe didn't sound right to people coming in from the outside. So I think there's always going to be a mix. When you've got a campaign that has been so nationalized, there's always going to be people who are coming in from the outside. I mean, we had outside people, with the Working Families Party who were working very hard on this campaign. Definitely some of those faces that you saw were people that our organization hired. But that's not to say that we should be bringing in outside people and then silencing the people from the community who are involved in the campaign and speaking. Right. Those are the people who are going to be dealing with whatever the aftermath is. And right now, the aftermath is a really broken Westchester County. I'm in 17. I'm not even in the district, but I was on that campaign trail basically every weekend. And I would have been there on the weekdays if I didn't have a job that I had to go to.
Right.
And the impact is rippling throughout the county. It's not just impacting the 16th district, it's impacting all of us. And we're all going to have to figure out how to move on.
Right.
I think that what you said, we need a balance. You definitely need local people, not just local people for the sake of local people, but local people who know the political terrain, know the players, know how to navigate through that. You bring some of the outside experts in to help with the data and stuff, but they have to work with the local people so they know where to hit, where to go, what doors to knock, what target. Bob's good at that. And one of the campaigns, like he said, he'd be up 24 hours. When people came in the campaign office, he gave them a packet. This is where you're going to hit. This is the part we need you to hit. This is what we need you to do. And everybody walked with a targeted packet, you know what I'm saying, to go to those areas. There were places that he needed to be. There were things that needed to get hit on a certain level that didn't, because those who you bring in don't know the importance of, like the African American Heritage Festival at Kensico Dam, that's going to have people from the whole county there. Like, that should have been flooded with his people. You know what I'm saying? And, other things like that. Even when you go to a local basketball game in Greenburgh on Ferris Avenue, you should have like people behind you that know the terrain with your stuff, walking through the crowd as they see you and hear you. And I think some of that was missed. And, while he's hitting other areas, people are still hitting targeted areas that need to be hit. So you maximize it. So I think you need both, but you need someone from that has some political capital and is that person that knows what's going on, they need to be one of the decision makers in your campaign. You can't bring the outside people and they have to answer to these people that don't know nothing about the terrain. You mentioned that he talked about Dominique and Andre's campaign. Not that she was terrible, but she had worked in Biaggi's campaign, State Senator Biaggi's campaign. The south side of Mount Vernon is not her district. She only has a small piece of Fleetwood. So they never did anything and don't know what's important in the south side of Mount Vernon, which is a block of black voters. You know what I'm saying? They don't know how to navigate. They didn't know. So that's where the ball got dropped. You know what I'm saying? Because she only had a sliver of Fleetwood. So if you're not there and you don't live there and she don't live on this side of town, you don't understand the importance of this side of town. And that's one of the things that me and Bob got really frustrated with in that other election.
Well, I think it's just the enthusiasm of the voter. Like nobody, I never seen so many black leaders that were just quiet. They was quiet. They were quiet on the issues. They were quiet on the importance of having a black congressman and a potential black district attorney. You know, people were not having the discussion how important it would be, not just for them to be in the position, but what it represents to our children, to see black people, not only a black man, two black men, you know, in these positions, you know, and we talk about school to prison pipelines, we talk about all that stuff, and we had an opportunity to really address it, and we failed, and we really failed. You know, I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm gonna say it, man. All your personal issues, you should have threw that shit away, because it's the bigger picture. We have failed to start looking at the bigger picture as black people, as people of color in Westchester County. You know, and you know, I had a politician from the city, you know, tell me, you know, when the rabbi says this is who we voting for, everybody vote for him. It ain't no discussion. Ain't no discussion. Where is that type of loyalty in the black church? That's what I'm trying to see, because I didn't hear any pastors openly talking about the importance of this vote. Now, I'm just not talking about from your pulpit, right? Because sometimes we need our pastors to come from behind the pulpit
and out of the building
and into the streets. See, but you know,
technically that's what they're supposed to be doing all year round.
I'm tired of them. I'm tired of them marching and rallying about something in another state. Trayvon Martin's in another state.
George
Floyd's in another state. I'm tired of seeing them do that. Black pastors and politicians. We really need to focus on the issues at hand right here in Westchester County, because we're losing it. We're literally losing it. And then when something happens, and it always happens, it's always going to happen. Something's going to happen. And then those that you were silenced about going to be exposed for who they really are. When someone else gets shot and killed by police or beat up by police, like how do you as a black person support somebody that gets endorsed by the police unions. And you really think that she's going to be fair? We've been through this before. That's what I don't understand. We've been through this before. As Black people, as people of color in Westchester County, we've been through this. And it seems like those people that stood up really forgot what racism looks like. Because it was racism all through this election cycle. It was bigotry all through this election cycle. And our elders, our leaders, got amnesia on what racism actually looks like. Oh, man.
I want to say before that, Bob. So I want to go a little further than Damon, and I'm just going to say it. So where were all the Black organizations? I mean, the NAACP in all the cities, the Urban League, the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus, the African American Men of Westchester, all of the organizations that represent Black and brown people. Where were you? I didn't hear a peep from any of you. Yeah, the NAACP had the candidate forums and stuff, but I'm saying as far as galvanizing, as far as getting out the vote, as far as all of that, for the first Black district attorney who comes from a criminal, a civil rights attorney lens, we've never had one. We never had a Black DA, but we never had someone come from a criminal, a civil rights attorney lens. They've all been prosecutors. And they go into it as prosecutors, and prosecutors prosecute our people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, and it wasn't like we didn't explain it. It was frustrating for us. We talked till we were blue in the face. We put it in newspapers and circulated. We wrote about it a lot on the website. You know what? We just got called radicals and all these other things and political operatives and stuff. And y'all allow people to say stuff about us and not pay attention to what we were saying. But you are the same people who are calling us now, talking about, I'm so disappointed the Black people didn't come out. What did you do? What were you doing as far as organizing? Right. Don't tell me that now. We've been saying that. We've been on the front line. I got the scars to prove it. We've been on the front line. Where were all of you? I don't want to hear it now. Where were you beforehand? And I mean all Black groups, the ones I named and all the ones I didn't name. There's a plethora of Black groups and brown groups that I didn't hear nothing from. There was no get out the vote. There was no galvanizing. There was no organizing their people. There was nothing of that. And if I stand corrected, if any of y'all did anything, then show me what you did, because I didn't see it. Go ahead, Bob. You were going to say something.
I mean, look, it's very obvious that the integration of important components of the Black community within the Democratic Party apparatus go a long way in explaining why we had such a low voter turnout. To the extent that we saw any individuals or organizations taking a prominent public stance, is generally in support of George Latimer. Whether we're talking about those pastors, I know of some in Mount Vernon who publicly endorse Latimer, or the Democratic political committees that operate in the strongholds of the Black community. And that must be taken into account in trying to understand why it is that people were reluctant. I mean, people, that's who butters their bread, so to speak. We know that if not directly through jobs of various kinds, AJ, you're well known for that, recalling for us that statement, all the Black radicals got jobs, or through various nonprofit organizations that service the Black community and rely very heavily on government grants in order to finance their operations. Having said that, I think it's important for us to understand that the Black community holds far more power in shaping the outcome of elections than is ordinarily recognized. One of the things that I did in preparation for this election is to dig through the Census Bureau's numbers on citizens of voting age population across the United States. This is a regular file that they compile, and it'll tell you how many people are voting age population. Citizens of voting age population. Here, the total turnout in this election was 76,360 persons. According to the 2021, the Census Bureau's 2021 American Community Survey, between Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, White Plains, and Yonkers, there are 72,185 Black people alone who are citizens of voting age population. That means if good God, the potential that we have to be a major force in elections should be evident from the numbers alone. But if we take into account also the fact that we know that Latinos are a growing segment of the Westchester population. In fact, I think their numbers may have approached 40% of the population here in Westchester County. Between those two groups alone with progressive whites, there should have been no reason at all that we shouldn't have had a closer election, a much more highly contested election, if not taking the election altogether. And it's very disappointing that there was such a poor showing. I don't know what the numbers are, Damon.
Well, everybody's still waiting on the numbers.
But those numbers are maybe it's probably below 5,000.
There were more Jewish write-in ballots than there was votes in the total city of Mount Vernon.
And my
or equal. But that goes back to what I was saying. The participation, the Black leadership, the Black pastors. And I just wanted to respond to Raquel Ali, and with all due respect, you saying that the WPC has been out and still registered voters, and they do not endorse primaries. But I think that's a mistake. With all due respect, I think that's a mistake because the primaries are the elections. There's nobody running. There's no Republican candidate running in Congress. They haven't announced one, and I doubt there will be, because the majority of the Republicans switched over to the Democratic Party to vote for George. So they got their candidate. The primaries in many of Westchester's elections and districts and levels of government is the election, because we outnumber the Republicans 3-1. So when we have a young Black man or Black person primary, that's the time we have to show out and show up. Not the general election. So I think, the next meeting, y'all need to review them bylaws, because we're doing our people a disservice. And I'm saying this with all due respect. We're doing our people a disservice because we're not showing up and showing out in the primaries where we could get someone who is addressing our issues and the greater issues into the general election. Well, that's not it. Whoa. That's not an excuse. We have to be involved, and we have to understand. And if we keep on doing this, you will never see a Black person in the district attorney's office. You'll never see one. And you'll probably never see a Black congressman again, unless he's picked by those that are in power. And they won't be there for us. They will be there for those who put them in, because they will be selected before they're elected by us.
Absolutely. You won't see a person. You won't see a person, outright unapologetic black person like Jamal Bowman, who spoke out
Exactly.
for our issues. But I got a question though, and please, Raquel, I mean this with all respect. I got much respect. I'm giving a lot of coverage to the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus. I had them on the show a lot. So you said that y'all don't get involved with primaries. Have y'all not gotten involved in primaries of black women that have ran in elections throughout the county? Because I think that you have. I understand your organization for black women, but I need clarification on that, because I thought that y'all had supported and got involved with black women throughout the county who were running, and you got involved in their primaries. So I don't know if that's not the case, then please tell me. I got a text. Oh, sis, I got a text. I know the answer, but another newspaper reporter just texted me and asked, "Is Jamal Bowman running in November on the Working Family Party line?"
No,
No, he is not.
Okay, and let's start from the beginning. We said your name. Please give us your exact title. What do you do for what do you? I don't think we gave you your flowers. So what is your title at the Working Family Party, the New York Working Family Party?
Let me give us some applause.
I don't need all that. I'm the Westchester Putnam chapter vice chair. I'm on the state committee. I'm on an advisory. I'm on a lot of committees.
I just wanted our audience, some who may be seeing you for the first time, to know, you're not just a member of the group. You hold some position, and you know what you're talking about. Like, I just wanted to, you know what I mean? I just wanted to do that, and I apologize for not doing that. And in the beginning, Raquel said we should reach out to the executive members. I will do that, Raquel. I didn't know that you weren't one since you were speaking. I didn't know that you weren't one, but and I know Sabomi's not the head no more, so I'll reach out, and I'm just putting it out here. Most of the people that are in the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus know personally how to reach me, so I would like to a response to that. And if that's the case, then I misspoke, but I thought that y'all got involved in black women in their primaries in the last few years. I'm almost sure that's the case, and I could be wrong. That's why I asked the question, since we had somebody from the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus. So, and no shade, because they do great work.
They do great work.
Getting black women elected in the county. And I would hope that, just because those black men, they didn't come out. I would hope that's not the case. But I think, and I didn't just say y'all, I said the African American men of Westchester. I said the Urban League. I said the joint branches of the Masons, the joint branches of the NAACP, and anybody who represents black and brown, but especially black people in our county that has some kind of organization. And there's lots of y'all who I don't know have your names off the top. Where were you? You were visibly absent. This was a historical race. And if there was ever a time for everyone to come out, Jamal got as many votes as he got, not because of black people, because there were some Jewish people. There were Jewish people who were not agreeing with what was going on in Israel. There were Westchester progressives. There was the anti-racism community. There were Palestinian and Muslim communities. It was a lot of people. Now, if you had the black people come out strong with all of those people, which we normally don't have come out and support our candidates, you know what I'm saying? This could have been a different race.
I'd like to ask a question. Sister, what's your name again, please?
Jennifer.
Pleasure to meet you, Jennifer. As a member of the Working Families Party, what is your assessment about the primary differences in policy and legislation that Congressman Latimer will be pursuing in
Congressman-elect. Yeah, go ahead.
Congressman-elect. Thank you, AJ. Congressman-elect Congress-elect Latimer would pursue as compared to the kind of policies that the current sitting congressman has pursued and may continue to pursue until his term is expired.
And let me correct, I believe you don't become congressman-elect till you win November. So I just want to, I think that's when he becomes congressman-elect. He just won the primary right now, but when he wins in November, then he will officially be congressman-elect until he swears in on January 1st.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the Democratic nominee right now.
Right, the Democratic nominee. I like to educate our audience because we don't have civics, and a lot of people in our community don't understand how government works. And no, seriously. And
that's the reason they get out of school.
Right, purposely, yeah. And that's the reason they don't have stuff like Schoolhouse Rock on for the kids no more. I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill. They taught you how that stuff worked. I can still sing that word for word because I saw it every Saturday, 2-3 times every Saturday with the cartoons. There's a reason why they don't show our kids stuff like that no more. But I want you to answer Bob's question, but I just wanted to clarify that because we have to be in a position to educate people every time we speak, because if we don't, it's not being done.
Yeah. I mean, Latimer told us what he was going to do when he's in Congress. He's not going to support anything. He has no opinions on anything except for not taxing the wealthy, because that was his base, and very specific requirements for a ceasefire in Israel. But he can't really talk about Netanyahu and his assessment of Netanyahu because, it's not his position as a congressman to do that. But he has very specific conditions for how you get a ceasefire in the war, which I thought was very interesting. And nobody really pointed out throughout the whole campaign. He said exactly, like, you have to have the hostages returned first, and then we can talk about aid. So we're going to let people starve. There's a famine. People, my children who look like my children, because we all end up looking alike, they're dying of starvation. Adults are dying of starvation. People are dying of starvation. But we have to get the hostages back. But in Israel, the families of the hostages are being beaten by their police because they're protesting the government, because they are saying we need a ceasefire to get our families back. But George Latimer is waiting until, I guess, they win the war and get the hostages back, and then we can talk about a ceasefire. So those are his two positions, and he has no positions on anything else. He has no assessment of Mayor Adams. He has no position on what is the fees to go into Manhattan. He has no positions on anything except for he doesn't want to tax the rich. He's not going to have a climate bill. He has told us that. Jamal has been extraordinary on climate. And people don't realize how much that impacts their lives. That impacts, like, our air quality in Westchester County is terrible. And George Latimer feels no responsibility to take a position on that. He feels no responsibility to stand up for the people that he's telling us he wants to represent. He's going to sit back and vote with Biden, except for the things that he's already told us he's not going to vote with Biden on. And, Jamal is for reparations, not studying reparations anymore.
Exactly.
That's going to be gone. His Green New Deal for schools is going to be gone. The Green New Deal in general is going to be gone. We're not going to have anybody standing up for us.
That's right.
When Latimer takes office.
And then when Trump gets in office, everything else going to be gone.
Exactly.
I don't even want to contemplate.
I do want to talk about what the comment was, and I had a problem with that. That's one problem I had. This election was a referendum on the Israeli-Gaza conflict and all of that, and not the things that would benefit the quality of life of the people in the district. we very little talked about the people in the district, the issues that people face in the district, and issues especially that I live on the south side of Mount Vernon. People like me and my neighbors face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Those issues were not brought up. And the one place they would have been brought up at the joint NAACP candidate forum, he got sick hours before and saw no reason to go and even come say, well, let me speak to y'all now that I'm feeling better. Like, you know what I'm saying? He couldn't have did that with nobody else. And to me, and this is me speaking, I'm not speaking as the vice president of the Mount Vernon branch. I'm not even speaking as an NAACP member, but I'm speaking for AJ Woodson personal. It looked like that was a middle finger to black people by just not showing up. You couldn't have done that with a Jewish group or the League of Women Voters or any other group and not came back and tried to show up. You couldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying? But like he felt there wouldn't have been no pushback, and there was no reason to be do that because there was no pushback. There was no pushback.
Well, see, AJ, that was the problem. There was no pushback.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pushing for pushback. Right.
There was no pushback from the NAACP. You got disrespected, period. And you did not push back. NAACP presidents did not demand him to come before them and answer the questions. That was their fault. That was their fault. See, a lot of times it's our fault. It's
Absolutely.
our fault. Because we want to be their friends and we want to be nice, and we're not representing what our ancestors fought for, because we want to be comfortable. They were not comfortable through the civil rights movement, through the Black Power movement. They were not comfortable. We're comfortable now.
It's not the role of the NAACP to be friends with elected officials and want to be their friends and want to be liked by them or to be comfortable. Bottom line, even Hazel Duke said at a state convention in Nyack to all of the people in the district, basically in the state. I mean, basically, and I'm paraphrasing because she didn't use this word. She was like, "It's your job to be shit starters." Basically, I mean that's what, like, she used a different word, but that's my paraphrasing of what she said. It's not your job to be friends with these elected officials and be cozying up to them and want to be liked by them. That is not your job as the NAACP. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be putting pressure on them. You're supposed to be holding them accountable, and you're supposed to demand answers. And that's not being done across the board. And I had a problem with that before I became a member. I tried to, despite what Damon told me, I tried to join and join or invade or whatever you want to put so I can help make a change. And I think I have a little bit with, we had two for the first time with the DA brace. All the districts in Westchester came together for the first time ever and had a candidate forum. And then for Jamal Latimer race, all the CD16 branches, including co-op and the Bronx, that had never been done before. You know what I'm saying? It's something I've been pushing for since the beginning. And so there would change, but still, this thing of being disrespected, to quote my brother, rest in peace, Hafiz Muhammad, who used to be the student minister, head of Mosque number 7, he said the problem with black people, we put out these demands and there's no or else.
That's right.
What is the or else? If you don't do this, we want you to do this or else. There was no or else.
Right.
So he had nothing to fear. You understand what I'm saying? And then you had News 12 that's no longer owned and operated by the Dolan family, and Cablevision is owned by Israeli billionaire businessmen. So when they reported the story, organizers planned candidate forum, and it didn't go as they expected. Not George Latimer did not show up for the oldest black civil rights organization throughout the district in a historical gathering of all the branches, which would have made people say, oh man, he didn't show up for black people. They didn't even mention that it was NAACP. And all of that is by design. And I got a problem with all of that. And I'm calling it out. And I don't care if they take my membership card back. I really don't care.
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I want to answer these two questions. So the first question was, the election wasn't so much about Gaza policy. Could it turn out differently? Lattimore made it about Israel.
AIPAC.
Let me finish.
But AIPAC though. But Latimer, they picked Latimer as their candidate.
Latimer made it about Israel. He was backed by AIPAC, but he made it about Israel from his first post when he decided to run for Congress. Jamal made his stance as a congressman about the Israel-Gaza conflict. But let's not get twisted. The real issue here is the transference of wealth. Jamal has the purse strings of the federal government, and they did not want to see a congressman send money to communities that was disadvantaged when historically under Ingle, the rich communities got all the dollars. Mount Vernon looks the way it does because it wasn't getting the proper federal funding that it is. Mount Vernon, Yonkers, Peekskill, Portchester, all these areas wasn't getting the actual money that it needed because Westchester County purposely moved Black people and poor people in those areas. It was about the distribution of wealth. And Black people voted against their interests, as usual in Westchester County. So when you have a Black man stand firm and says, yes, I am sending these funds to these marginalized areas so we can have equity. They don't want that. They do not want equity. They want those poor areas to remain poor. They want these pockets of Black communities to remain the way they are. Westchester County is up south. It's no different than being down in Mississippi or any place like that. We are segregated. And just because you got a doctor's degree and you got a Mercedes-Benz in the driveway, 9 times out of 10, you're not in these white neighborhoods. You in the little pockets, Greenburgh, a little bit of White Plains, a little bit of Yonkers, Mount Vernon, Peekskill. Look where all the Black folks at. You ain't gonna take my word for it. Just look, if you're a Black person, where you live at? You ain't living close to the Clintons. You damn sure ain't living in Purchase. You can't even afford a driveway in Purchase. With your Black job. Let's just be honest, man. We fooling ourselves. We living in some type of false reality. And that's what they want for Black people in Westchester, to live in false realities. Just because you say you live in Westchester, you don't live in the real Westchester. You live where they want you, where they put you. And then when you get a Black man that says, yo, I'm taking these federal funds and I'm trying to build these communities up, y'all vote against them or don't even come out at all.
But can I say something about that? Because this goes to Mika's question as well, about Gaza policy. AIPAC intentionally did not make ads about Gaza policy. It was about Gaza for certain communities, absolutely for the Jewish community. They specifically sent targeted messages there, making it about Gaza and making it about Israel, and pretending that Jamal Bowman is not for a two-state solution, pretending that he's anti-Semitic when there are so many Jewish organizations fighting for him because they know that that's not true. But the commercials that people were seeing were Jamal Bowman voted against infrastructure. Jamal Bowman is not with you. He's not with the president who's trying to lift you up, to the extent that that's true. We can debate that. But the advertising that people were hearing was that Jamal is not out here trying to help you. They didn't talk about how Jamal Bowman voted against that infrastructure bill because he wanted more for us, because he
Right.
wanted child care, because he wanted senior care, because he wanted climate, even bigger than what we got out of the Inflation Reduction Act. They're not talking about that. They're talking about, this is what he did that didn't help you. And so I don't blame people too much for being fooled, because they heard those messages over and over again. And we know that advertising can do that. The more you hear it, the more it sounds true. And you start to disbelieve what you know, what you've seen with your own eyes. Because it's like, well, I don't know, because I've been hearing, all these things. I was in Black neighborhoods talking to voters, and they were like, but what about the infrastructure bill? And so if I'm at the door and I can talk to an individual voter about, this is what happened, this is why he voted the way he did, and by the way, Hakeem Jeffries endorsed him, that would turn them around. But that's one voter at a time. And we had a ground game, and we were talking to lots of voters. It wasn't just, but at the end of the day, each advertisement is being viewed by how many millions of people all at once, and over and over and over for weeks. That has a big impact. So it's not that people are voting against their interests or not coming out because they don't care. It's because they're being lied to intentionally to make them doubt what Jamal was out there doing for everybody. And so we have to remember that, it is about that civic education throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Because it was too late. By the time the election comes around, it's too late to be trying to get everybody educated. That's got to be happening throughout the year. And I think that was probably, one of the things that we didn't see that we probably should have been seeing.
No, absolutely. And I told Jamal too, I said, it was his responsibility, or his team's responsibility. And I talked to Sarah too, and that they should have promoted what he was doing even more, because, people did not know the amount of money that he was bringing to the district. If you're bringing $500,000 to Eastchester to fix their sewers, I'm having a press conference and I'm taking a picture with the mayor. You understand? So can't none of y'all say I ain't do nothing for you, because I got pictures with you with a big check that I'm doing. So, I think, part of it was not understanding that you are always in campaign mode from the day that you start, and it is all it's all you have to, Jamal needed to also meet with the city committees, and I told him that, I told him that, these are little mistakes that happen. You can't think that these city committees don't have any type of influence, because all of them endorse George, right? And then if you don't go to none, of course they're going to endorse George. You can have your differences, but you're still still their congressman. And I think that was a mistake. And that was something learned, and that's something that we have to learn, moving forward, to make sure that when we put someone in office, that they are seen and they are heard in every city committee, whether you agree or you disagree. They can't say that you wasn't there. You understand? So, and I think that's key. And that was part of the pushback, from the beginning, and we just have to learn from this. We have to learn from this, and we have to move forward. I mean, I really hope Jamal comes back in 2 years, regardless, because he's going to have to look at the landscape, and he's going to have to sit down. Even if it's hard, you're going to have to do it. This is your district. Let me tell you something. You know, the fact that they moved 6,000 write-in ballots is powerful. I'm not taking nothing away from them. That's organizing. That's organizing. And the black preachers need to wake up and start taking a book from the synagogues. Or y'all just going to be left out, and it's going to get to the point that they don't need the black vote. And I never understood. I'm going to just say this. I never understood when people were telling me there were certain people I talked to, and they're like, no, George got it won. I'm like, damn, like we didn't even get the early voting yet. Like, how y'all saying this man won the election? Because they had those 6,000 write-ins. They knew they knew what they had. So, I mean, I think we have to get to the point where we're just not worried about election day and early voting, but we're also worried about the write-ins and how many write-ins we could get, you know, and even my brothers that are imams, you know, if they're not, you know, you have some people in the mosque that, oh, you know, I don't believe in voting. Well, I'm the imam and I'm supporting this. Then if you don't have to go vote, just fill out this write-in, bro. Register to vote and fill out this write-in. You ain't got to go nowhere. Just fill out the write-in and we'll hand it in. See, we got to start thinking like that. Even the black church has to start thinking like that. If you're a member of a church and you got kids that's 18 or up, everybody should be registered to vote. Everybody should be registered. Oh, well, if your kid can't, well, your kid running around in the street, hey, no, we doing a write-in for him. If he just out here hanging out, chasing girls and not thinking about, we gonna do a write-in. Tell your son to come in, tell your daughter to come in. That's what we have to start rethinking how. Actually, we have to start doing what we did in the 60s. We just forgot. We got comfortable. We got comfortable because we got a black president. Now we comfortable. Right? But we ain't got no black president no more. We barely got black elected officials or strong masculine black elected officials. That's a whole nother conversation at a whole nother time. But I think we just have to, we got to look at, Elijah Muhammad said this: study the white man, he's successful, and he makes no excuses for his failures. That's from Elijah Muhammad. So we have to study what they did. And we have to take the positive from what they did out this election. And we have to apply it as people of color. And if we don't apply it as people of color, we will be stuck with our black jobs and no black politicians. And as Trump says, they're going to come and take all our jobs. But I'm serious. I'm joking, but it's serious that we have to do it, that we have to be willing to do this type of groundwork and have the alliances to make sure that we get the numbers out, because if not, we will never get an elected official in. That goes against the machine.
Yeah, we're going to get those black faces in places that don't represent us, like you said, that are handpicked, that go along to get along, those Negropeans. But that's what we're going to get. We're not going to get outspoken, unapologetic black leaders to fight for our rights. And we're not going to, and without everyone coming, Jamal can run 2 years or not. But if the black people don't get it together and learn from this and organize and create some kind of infrastructure like we talked about, it don't matter. Because it's going to be the same repeat of the same thing.
Go
ahead, Bob.
Yeah. The number one historical lesson that progressives must take from this campaign and the long history of failures that we've suffered is that political organizing during campaign seasons is one side of a coin that has to be matched with economic organizing for the needs of everyday people between campaigns. No one wants you to come knocking on their door when you haven't done shit for them. And that is the widespread perception of so many residents throughout Westchester County and the rest of the country, that our political system only comes to us with a hand out and not a helping hand. And we've got to find a way to reverse that. The reason I mention it is because the Jamal Bowman at the squad and the particular moment that we find ourselves in historically led to, as Jennifer said, historic investments in a number of social justice issues, including money, massive money to fund the clean energy transition. There was over $27 billion allocated through 3 major programs, including a Solar for All program that sought to solarize homes in disadvantaged communities on favorable terms to not only bring down the cost of energy, to not only clean up the local environment, but also to use that money as a way to leverage the creation of a pathway for in the emerging green energy sector. And it's important for us to note, because right now you have a number of organizers here in the county that have applications that are pending for considerable sums of money. Let me remind everyone, the coalition that I was a part of, that included the Carpenters Union, the Teamsters Union, the Electricians, Sustainable Westchester, Hudson Valley Works, the NAACP, the Energy Justice Alliance, that includes Raya Salter, Paul Presenda, Tasha Young, and others, all united to apply for a $50 million grant. This is the type of money, these are the types of programs that we need to be organizing around between elections, so that we can demonstrate to people that there is a payoff politically for going out and voting for progressives, because they're going to fight and champion programs that are designed to begin to address the deep-seated problems that we have. You know, much to the credit of Congressman Bowman and his staff, they gave us considerable support in trying to, preparing 2 major applications, both the EJ Tic Tac Center, which a coalition I was a part of, that included Pace Energy Climate Center, applied for EJ Tic Tac grant. So we applied for $60 million in funding over the past couple of years. Unfortunately, we were not as successful in our application, but we were successful in putting together a coalition that demonstrated the viability of these kind of efforts. And it is through such efforts that we're able to build the kind of multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-class alliance that is going to turn up at elections, knowing that there is the potential. So I hope right now, I want to say, I know that Raya Salter and her group has an application that's pending before, I believe perhaps the EPA or another federal agency that could yield considerable money that we can leverage. And so I want people to be on alert for that. But I also want people to listen, because I know Jamal reached out. He reached out and made sure that we were informed about the various grant opportunities in any number of areas where our communities are facing dire challenges. He reached out and told us about money for anti-violence initiatives, gun buyback programs. He reached out and made sure that we were aware of money that was available for climate initiative, amongst others. I can only hope that when George is inaugurated, assuming he was, there's no reason to believe not, that he also makes the same effort. And even if he doesn't, those monies are out there, and that should be the focal point of our organizing. This is especially important. Last note, this is especially important because these grants, in my judgment, as a student of Black history, and the relationship between federal policy and the ability of Black communities, brown communities to make their needs, these programs that have been enacted represent a major break. past programs, social welfare programs, often gave counties the authority to determine how money is spent, and that is no longer the case. The authority rests in community-based organizations, and in order for us to get this grant money, we must. No grant is going to have be competitive if it does not include Black and brown and other marginalized communities around the table playing a central leadership role and also being the main beneficiary in terms of both the dollars that are ultimately directed to service these, as well as employment and business opportunities. And so I hope that y'all will reach out to so many people. There are a lot of people who are doing this work. I hope we find a way to, meet in the near future and do some of these things. Is absolutely critical.
I'm so glad you said grants for Black people, because, we get caught up. There's a lot of grants for minorities. That includes white women. You know what I'm saying? And they get a lot of that money. And then what actually goes to Black and brown people is like a small percentage of that. So we have to find things that are specifically for Black people. And they're out there, Black and brown people, and they're out there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you specifically said that, because I think that needs to be a distinction we understand. Because for the longest, we let them talk about these grants for minorities. And again, white women are a minority, and they take up their organizations and their companies and whatever. They take up a chunk of this money, and they never come to the urban community, the hood, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, the new grants require that they do so. And that's important for everyone to know. Look, we actually initiated the Solar for All grant. It was me and several other brothers and sisters from disadvantaged communities that went to establishment organizations and said, this is what we want to apply for. And they were quite willing to partner with us. And we played a co-equal role, in this whole affair. And that's the type of programs that we really been crying out for. And actually, they've been delivered by the Biden-Harris administration, thanks to the effort of progressives like Jamal and our liberal allies who recognize that if we do not begin to address some of these problems, the political climate here in the United States will only worsen. It is dire times, everyone. It's a dire moment that we're in. Let me shut up.
No, yeah, you on the road, brother. That's why we wanted you on this episode to bring home that message. Sister Jennifer, as we coming kind of close to the end of the show, wondered anything that you want to get out to the voters, to the residents about organizing, about politics being a participatory sport. We can't just vote and then go to sleep for 4 years and then come back and vote and expect that something's going to change. It's a participatory sport. It is our role to participate in, and if we don't, this is what we get.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, I think that in the past, the Working Families Party hasn't done a good enough job trying to get people in. And so right now, like we're not as big or as diverse or as representative of the county as we ought to be. We've got a lot of people from the river towns, north to south, but we don't have a lot of people on the sound side of the county. We don't have enough people from the southern parts of the county, from the Yonkers, from the Mount Vernon, from New Rochelle. We're starting to build that up now, but we still need more of that. One of the things that I think is really special about the Working Families Party that people don't understand is you don't have to be registered with our party to be involved. You can be a Democrat, stay registered as a Democrat, vote in the primaries, and still be involved. We have dues paying memberships. You pay $10 a month, and it's basically the same as being registered. And the reason that we have that is because we don't have those big donors that the Democrats have, because we want to tax them and they don't want to give us their money. But you can join the chapter, get involved, and then we have endorsement interviews every year. I organize those. It's a lot of work. But what we end up being able to do, because we are a people-led organization, is that we have our elected officials come in who are seeking our endorsement, and most of them do seek our endorsement. Most of the Democrats who run in Westchester County seek our endorsement from the village level up to the congressional level. We get to interview them, we get to speak with them, we get to ask them about their positions on things that are important to us, and we get to hear from them. And we get to find out if they are really for us or if they're, like bullshitting us, right? So if you want to get involved and be able to have that power, like that was something that blew me away the first time that I got involved in it myself, that I could sit there in front of an elected official and ask my questions about things that I found important. And not only did I get to ask those questions, they felt obligated to answer. Like you can tell a lot of times they're nervous about how we're going to respond to them. And then afterwards, we all have a conversation, everybody who was part of those interviews, and we talk through it. We take a vote right there for everybody who was part of the conversation. And then that goes up and up and up the levels. But what ends up happening is that we defer to the people who were in the room. So, our chapter steering committee is really the group that is making the recommendation to the larger party. But our steering committee is deferring to the people who were in the room. And then the next level up, they're deferring to the chapter. And the next level up, they're deferring to the region. So at that base level, where you're not seeing all the rest of the steps, everybody's deferring back to what happened when you were in that room with that elected official. And that is power. That is real power. And we have to show people that they have that power in order to get people involved in politics. Because what's happening right now is people think it doesn't matter if I'm involved or if I'm not involved. Everything's just going to happen the way it's going to happen. And I have no impact. But that is not true. We have a big impact. We had an impact on this race, even though we didn't win it.
Right.
We've got people organizing now throughout the county, and things I think are going to change. Even though we lost Jamal, we've now empowered and emboldened a whole swath of people around this county who didn't understand the importance of their participation in elections. And so what we have to do now is bring everybody else in. Show them you have power. You can make things change. You can make these people nervous. But if you're not voting, they don't care what you think.
Absolutely.
If you are not voting, your voice does not matter. So the number one thing is to vote. The next thing, if you have the time, is to get involved with organizations that are doing work and interacting with these people face to face and making demands of them. And then the next level up is just getting leadership positions. We've got plenty of space in the Working Families Party, like Westchester Putnam. We've barely got any Putnam. But we've got plenty of space for people to get involved. And so if you're sick of the Democratic Party and you're giving up on them, don't give up on politics just because this party is not here to represent you anymore. Because number one, you can change the party if you want to stick with it. But number two, if you are really just done with the Democratic Party, come to the Working Families Party, see what we're about, because we are about making some real change that's going to impact people's lives and make them better.
Two things that you said that are very important. You can still be a member of the Democratic Party, so you can vote in the election, which is very important. And two, the power to be in the room where the question, like Hamilton, in the room where it happens, and the room where the questions are asked. Many Democrats don't have that from the Democratic Party.
Nope.
Let's keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You're getting an opportunity. You've been a lifelong Democrat, and you ain't never had that opportunity to be in the room where it happens. You know what I'm saying? So those two things are very important.
Because it doesn't even happen like that.
No. I know, but I'm just saying you have an opportunity. The Working Family Party is giving you an opportunity you as a lifelong Democrat have never had as a Democrat. I specifically want to make that point. And the fact that you can keep your party affiliation. So because the threat is, like when me and Damon started the Independence Party, you in Mount Vernon, you can't vote in the Democratic primary. You know what I'm saying? Your structure, which is new, I don't know if anybody else is doing it like that, where you can be a paid member, and a dues paying member, and keep your party affiliation so you can continue to vote. And that You know what I'm saying? So you don't lose your vote. That's a powerful, I think that's the dynamic I want to definitely nail home that I think a lot of people don't realize about the Working Family Party.
Yeah. I mean, we do need people to register. Like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
if you're not registered with the Democrats, or if you want to change your registration from the Democrats, don't become an independent, because then you're disenfranchising yourself. If you are registered with the Working Families Party, you know, like, to be in my position, to be in higher level positions, you do have to be a registrant. And that's important because we are a political party, and we have to have people who are, you know, with us and have made us their political home. But if you're not ready to take that step, then check us out. You can still be part of everything that's happening without having to give that up right away. You know, if you want to become a leader in the party, then it's a conversation. I saw it as a way to multiply the impact. You know, as a Democrat, I had 1 vote. As a member of the Working Families Party, and as a person with decision-making power in the Working Families Party, I get to multiply that vote, because I'm impacting all kinds of different people's votes in the general, or in the primaries and in the general election. Because people look and they check and see who did the Working Families Party endorse, and that helps them to make their decisions. So if I helped to choose the right person for the Working Families Party to endorse, and then somebody else, you know, 10 other people see that and they say, oh, I was having trouble choosing, but now I see WFP, who I trust, has endorsed this person. Now I'm going to vote for this person. I just multiplied my 1 vote that I gave up by 10.
Absolutely. And you know, the power of third party, like the Independence Party, when they had a Westchester Independence Party, they made the difference in several elections. They were the difference. There were some Democrats that won because the Independence Party put their stamp on it, and their members voted for that candidate too. And there were some Republicans that might not have won if it wasn't for, you know, this is not the Trump Republicans, this is before that. But there were some Republicans that won because the Independence Party put their support behind that candidate, because they go with who was the best candidate, not party. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made the Independence Party a threat. And that's also what makes the Working Family Party a threat. And the Working Family Party is even more progressive than the Independence Party. So, you know what I'm saying? Keeping that in mind on some of your progressive ideals and things that you fight for. So, you know, I thank you for explaining all that. Any last words for the people?
Bob?
Yeah, I hope to see y'all. Listen, rest up. Rest up. Get your rest and get out on the streets. And I do want to emphasize, because I know I'm yelling, that was my protest voice. But you know what? And this is a more serious note. Part of the struggle requires that we not only stand up and protest against injustice, but we sit down and do serious organizing. We are not going to win this battle unless we sit down and do real organizing. The grant programs opportunities that are now available require sophisticated planning, logistical operations, and that can only be done. Research and analysis, that can only be done if you're sitting down in front of your computer and writing and reading and, you know, assimilating data. And so my voice is coming lower. That means it's time for everyone to sit down at your computers. I'll see y'all next week, sometime next week, hopefully, in the weeks ahead.
No doubt, no doubt. Damon.
Yeah, I just wanna say we finishing right on time because the grandbaby's coming in. We finished right on time.
We see her.
And she not only coming in, she got a bike. Come on, wanna sit next to Pop?
Nah, that's G-Pop, man. Stop that, man. Come on, man.
No, you know,
Talk about Pop.
So, listen, let me tell you, man. When you trying to get, come on, baby, come sit at the Pop. Come sit next to Pop.
She's tired today. She usually come on the screen a lot.
She usually be on it,
right?
See,
she be trying to hit buttons and everything. She be like, yo.
See, the goal. You know what the goal is? The goal is to have people that look like my grandbaby in office, so she could look up and see leaders that look like her. So we're actually failing the children. we're actually failing the children because they do not have representation in Congress and in high levels of government that are looking out for their interests. So that's what we fight for. We fight for the babies. And Black people need to start fighting for their babies and stop selling out. Because we won't have people that look like us in these offices. So, that's all I gotta say. I fight for the grandbabies. I don't know what they fighting for. They fighting for Black jobs and government jobs. I'm fighting for the next generation of our children.
Absolutely. And in closing, I want to say, the benefits that we enjoy and the rights that we enjoy that we were born with, because many of us were born with these rights, the right to vote and all the stuff that our ancestors didn't have, and some of our parents didn't have. We have those rights because people fought for us. And by not continuing the fight, we're not leaving the next generation. The next generation should have more rights. Our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren should have more rights than we have. We shouldn't be fighting to keep back or get back the rights that we already had in the 60s that are being stricken from us. And representation is everything. Every other group of people fights for representation to fight for them, that looks like them, that fights for them. AIPAC, I ain't a fan of AIPAC, but they're a one-issue group. They fight for Israel, and they pay money to support candidates that support Israel. And if you don't, they pay money to get those other candidates out. And instead of us keep complaining about AIPAC, we need to be working on our strategic political infrastructure so we can fight for our candidates to do the same thing for us. That's what we need to do, and that's the lesson we should have learned from this. In closing, because again, I'm out of town, so I'm definitely getting off of here. But this has been Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. This is episode 399. One episode away from our 400th episode. Don't know what we're going to do for the 400th, but this is episode 399. I want to thank my sister Jennifer for coming on and representing and speaking. And I offer this associate and others. I hope that you use this. Me and Damon didn't create this to be our show. We created it for the community, to be the community to have a voice. Not to be the voice for the community, but for the community to have a voice. So whenever you got an issue that you really need to speak on that is concerning the people or whatever, you need to get the word out. I hope that you accept this open invitation to come on anytime you need to, or any of your people need to address whatever needs to be addressed. Because that's how we stay strong when other people come on and address that. And thanks to my brother, Dr. Bob, who held us down for years. He hasn't been on regular, but when he comes on, he makes a difference, as you see. Like I said earlier, MSNBC has Steve Kornacki at the big board giving you numbers. Dr. Bob is our dude that gives us all the numbers, the data, and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So he's like the Black Steve Kornacki, whatever his name is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. With that, Damon, hit the button. We out till next week. Peace.
22 million Black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. Today, look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. and are not afraid to say it,
and are not afraid to say it. Are we still live? We are still live, right? No? Yes, we are.
Yeah,
We are still live.
Ooh,
This is
look
the
at the
after.
dress.
After the show is the after party,
Right
and
here.
after the
Show
party is the
everybody
hotel.
the
I'm
dress.
sorry.
Show everybody the dress. Oh, look at that.
You get to see some
Oh.
extended footage. The after show.
Are we still live?
That's what I
Oh,
tried to tell
man.
you. That's why I keep talking. That's why I kept talking to the people. Peace, everybody. Like, subscribe, and share. Peace.